Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 11th episode of Blade Talk. All right, so what are we on about today? Today we are on about questions and answers, your questions and answers for myself and my esteemed colleague, good mate, and the bearded bastard, Stuart Smith. Yeah, so let's get the show on the road, shall we? And there we go. It's official go time. All right. So for the guys that don't know, we are doing Blade Talk Q&A. Yeah. And I've been playing with the software again. Stu, look at that, buddy. I'm not cutting half my head off anymore.
Aha. Well done.
But now, if I put you in focus, look at the size of your nose now. We're going to be playing Dodge the Mic. All right. But anyway, dude. Okay. So we already have coins. Guys, welcome. And thank you for joining us. We have got Red Meadow Knives saying good morning, evening. Yeah, buddy. No idea what time it is.
Knives. What's his name? We don't want to call him Red Meadow Knives every time he says how's it.
Yeah.
So
okay. But, good morning, good evening. For us, it is late afternoon. It's 5 o'clock in the afternoon. We have no idea where in the world you are. But let us know whether it's morning where you are. I'm assuming it is morning, and therefore he's saying good morning.
Yeah.
That's my deductive capabilities. Yeah. And then we've got Mr. Tim Brown, blacksmith and knife maker. I like that. Dude. Yeah. And then the Saber Striker. The guys are just saying good. Garth, buddy, I have got your question that you left. Jimmy Jam Cutler, how's it going, buddy? And welcome to the show. All right, so what we have is we already have a couple of questions. Sorry, bud.
I said top of the morning to Jimmy. He's from all the way from Ireland.
Excellent, man. So we have got a question from Mr. Tim Brown. Sorry, I'm looking off screen. I have got. Do you want me to put the questions on the ones we have so far?
Yeah, why not? So that people can see
what
they can expect. Leon, how's it?
David, and then as always, we've got David Huller in the house, and that guy just took everything down the tubes, man. If David's in the house, you know that we can't. We're going to have to put an R rating on shit, right? So I'm just going to move our little Q&A thingy to the side. I can make it flip-flop, yeah. But I need to physically do that, so I'm going to stop now. You want orange or do you want black?
You confuse me. Orange.
Orange. Okay, well, orange it is. All right. So let's go on to. Oh, not that. Come on. Well, how did I do that? There we go. Oh crap! I need to
again.
Let's take that. All right. So, Mr. Tim Brown said, what is the most important tool in your shop? Steve, you want to start off with this one?
For me, you don't have to forge knives. So a hammer and an anvil and a forge aren't essential. I think the essential tool is your belt grinder. That's the one that makes it all possible. You can make knives with files and you can make it with the basic tools, but if you want to make any kind of success, a belt grinder is definitely a must.
I am going to agree and disagree just because I'm left-wing. Yeah. But for the guys, it is late afternoon and we can't do this without coffee, right? So cheers. In my shop, the most used tool would be the pencil. Done. Everything for me starts in my head on paper. If you don't have that skill under the knee, anything and everything you build on top of it is, man, the foundation is where it's at for me. Good design starts with design. Stuff doesn't happen by itself on the anvil. Definitely doesn't stop or happen on the grinder. If you don't have a plan, things are just going to take you so much longer. But that's it. That's me, and I'm apparently just off my rocker. Tool-wise, used tool. I hear what Stuart's saying, and the belt grinder is probably the one thing that I cannot live with. Well, I probably can, but will not want to live without. But aside from that, files. files
I can
and
talk to you, Daniel.
Sorry, man.
I figured out what the best tool and tools are. There's two of them.
Yeah.
These things.
As in the description we put on our knives, handmade. Yeah.
Yeah. Jazz hands.
Jazz hands. I like that. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly start a live session on my phone via Instagram. So for the guys watching at home, if you're not doing this live, this is not going to make much sense. But ladies and gentlemen of Instagram world, welcome. All right, so we've got a Q&A session with myself and Mr. Stuart Smith. He's the small dude sitting in the corner. Yeah. Go onto my YouTube channel, link in my bio, and then you can follow along live. So you don't have to have the behind the scenes little thingy. Yeah. So there you can see for the guys and gals at home following us live, that is just a off screen. And now I've screwed with the setting. It's just an off screen so that you guys can actually see. For the guys that don't have access to YouTube for whatever inexplicable reason. So Mr. Tim Brown is saying, most important tool in your shop. If there's only one tool, it'll be the pencil. Second for me, it will be my files. Stuart is saying his bell grinder and then obviously his hand. But we forgot to mention the most important tool.
Your brain.
Exactly. Yeah. And my dad had a saying, yeah, and I'm going to call it out here. Use the tool, don't be the tool. Yeah, life lessons. Life lessons. We teach you cool shit. Yeah, play talk. That's where it's at, man. All right. And then Frederick is saying, question for Neels. In your life making career, when did you decide to join the ABS and tell the journey was like? Brother, the journey. When did I decide to do ABS is when I decided to go full time. I realized that I asked around and asked what the official qualification was in South Africa, and the highest accolade you could achieve in South Africa was the peer recognition through the Knife Makers Guild of Southern Africa. So that was on the path, but for me, as a bladesmith, there is no clear distinction, or there's no distinction made once you've joined the guild to say I'm a bladesmith, aside from what you produce. So I said, well, what internationally? I spoke to Mastersmith Kevin Harvey, and he said, well, if you want to take this serious, go ABS. And I thought about that for all of 3 seconds, got off the phone and applied for membership, paid my first fee, and then realized, look, it's going to take me 3 years before I can apply for Journeyman Smith, so might as well start digging in now. Yeah. And it's about a year in that I did my cut and bend. No, it's 2 years in. I did my cut and bend, so a year in advance I did my cut and bend. What then, Stu? Kind of lost the plot there for a while. Then I did
the longest part of the journey to bladesmithing is the 14-hour flight to Atlanta, I think.
16 hours.
16 hours.
16 hours. And that's if you get a direct flight, yeah? And aside from that, you've got nothing to do. So your knives are in the cargo hold, and you're just sitting there thinking.
About them rusting.
You are your worst enemy when it comes to just thinking. You know, thinking, fuck, did I get all the scratches out? Did I get all this? Did I get all that? But anyway, then I submitted for JS, probably the longest half an hour in my life, standing outside of that room, waiting to be judged. Incidentally, that's where I met some of the coolest people on the freaking planet. Yeah, I met Mastersmith Jay Nielsen standing out there. I was interviewed by Mastersmith Kevin Kashen, who's the dagger guy worldwide. Yeah, and about things to take note of for other journeyman smiths. And I think my comment was, get your knives done and don't work on them like 2 hours before you get on the plane. True story, that. And then, Masters with Kevin and Heather knew I passed as a JS before I did. When I came out, I was jokingly telling everyone, it doesn't matter what's happening, whether I make it or don't make it. Stu, stop doing cartwheels, dude.
So that wasn't me.
I was telling everyone, it doesn't matter what the outcome was. I was going to end up in a pub drinking. Whether I made it, if I didn't make it, but luckily I made it. Yeah. But it was stressful. It is well worth it, because as soon as I did my JS rating, people, exhibitors, and just show goers at Blade Show, literally go and they find you on the floor, and they want to look at your knives because they realize that Genuine Smith knives are at a certain level, yeah, and they want to get in early. And I managed to sell all my Genuine Smith test knives, the entire set, to a collector, and he insisted that I, on the back of a business card, give him permission for first decline on my Mastersmith set, which is pretty cool. So I know for a fact that I haven't started making those knives, but there is one dude worldwide that really wants to buy that set. So the journey, man, it was a decision. I said I want to attain the highest qualification you can get in knife making worldwide, and everything was planned around that. It doesn't happen. It's the same thing as people saying, Stuart Anthony said, Stuart is typing questions for us to answer while we're doing this. Yeah. Okay. So that's the long and short. If you decide to go to Cape Town, you need to either follow a map or book a plane. Yeah. So, but in Cape Town, if you want to get there, you want to get there. So make a choice, decide what you want to do, and that's it. If you want to take knife making as a career seriously, there's two things in South Africa, according to me. You have to be a member of the South African Knife Makers Guild. All right. And then number two, if you're a bladesmith, go ABS, go all the way, man. Go for Mastersmith. Done. Yeah. Why do I say you have to be if you are a pro maker in South Africa? If this is your sole income, why do you have to be a member of the guild? It's only the most lucrative knife show in Africa. Yeah. 3.6 million rand get moved just on the Friday afternoon. You want a share of that, then be there. It's as easy as that. This is no 1,000 rand knives. Yeah, this is. I mean, the very first knife I sold as a guild member was a 23,000 rand knife. Prior to that, my highest price I got for a knife was 9,500 rand. So that should put things into perspective. Yeah, and the person that bought that knife from me didn't argue about the price. He goes, is that the price? I'm going, yes. He says, I'll take it. Done. No arguing, no nothing. And he told me, keep it on your table for Friday. I'll come pick it up first thing on Saturday morning. Brilliant. That person has never spoken to me prior to that. I knew of him as one of the biggest collectors in South Africa. But he refused to even talk to me or look at my knives until I was a guild member. Why? Because he wants real quality knives. Yeah. Peer recognition. That's what it's about. But anyway, okay, so I'm going to step off. Let's go to live. Will I be able to watch this later is a question. Yeah, brother, this is streamed straight to my Facebook profile. And as soon as I upgrade my package, yet another tier, and Stuart gives me permission, I'll be able to stream to his profile as well. And aside from that, we are also streaming live to YouTube. Yeah, and Jack, that's where you are watching from. Thank you for the comment, man. So if you have a look at the Blade Talk, what's it called? Little list. Playlist, Blade Talk playlist, yeah. Then you'll find all the previous episodes. JB Blades, how's it going, buddy? It's also a guy that pops in every now and then, man. And then we have got a guy called Stuart Anthony Smith, and he wants to know who chromes your knives. Stuart, you want to handle that one?
I get my knives chromed in a cheap Chinese sweatshop with, underpaid children workers in knockoff. Bizarre. Jeez, I can't find words today. I can't be funny. I'm sorry.
Okay, so on that note, with the whole lockdown thing, how has that affected your chroming sweatshop? Are you still finding new kids come in?
Yeah, my growing setup, it cost me a fortune to maintain these kids. I'm giving them Red Bulls all day just to keep them awake. Eh?
So on mine, I'm going to pop in here. I literally went to Madagascar, personally trained capuchin monkeys to do the handstanding on my plates, and these guys really know their shit. Yeah, so I took them at an advanced course to a local chroming guy, and he taught them how to chrome my knives. So that's how all my knives are getting done at the moment. Thank you for the question, Stuart. I really appreciate that. And if you don't know, we were talking absolute bullshit there. Yeah, and the thing is, Blake talks no bullshit. So I need to call bullshit on both of those. Yeah.
Sometimes bullshit.
How do you say?
Next question.
Yeah, man, go and post it. So it's about 2 minutes after the episode is done. Then I'll add it to the playlist. But now, if you just go onto my YouTube channel, you'll see that there is a section that says live currently, and it is playing there. Then we've got Sean saying, "How's it going?" After my 10,000, I think he's been hand sanding way too much, man. So saying to sand my blank flat, I tape 400 grit sandpaper to it, but how do I get the spine flat? Skulk, might be misinterpreting it, but if you've got a blade blank and you've done the sides, the ricassos, literally just putting it on the spine and then drawing it over it, that will do it. Figure out a way, man. Flat flatten, that'll do it. Up and down on the flat flatten. And then, yeah, man, it is fairly easy if I understand the question correctly. Steve, you want to pop in there?
I'm just reading the question. Yeah, that's pretty much. You've got it, man. There's nothing really more we can add to that. Using machines is a risk because if you don't have steady hands, you can screw up your bevels. Using a static surface is definitely going to help with the flatness of spines, bevels, anything that you work on. So it can take sometimes a little bit longer, but if you experienced at it, it shouldn't take any longer than it does with a belt sander or even a disc sander. So yeah,
exactly.
But if you want to just flat, put it onto that piece of granite with your sandpaper, and just with steady hands, make sure it doesn't slip, and you can get a nice flat spine.
Exactly. Yeah. So Renier is asking me any opinions on the Trinity 7 grinders. Brother, I actually paid good money for one of them. Yeah. So that's the entry level one. And I believe that I want to work on all of them so that I can give guys in a price class a competitive answer. So an absolute honest answer. Garth is a cool guy. He is a good mate. But I will not punt his stuff just because he's a good mate. The quality of the stuff speaks to itself. Yeah. So if you're going to have a look at his, speak to him and ask him honestly, how many grinders have he sold in the last year, a year and a bit? How many new models he's brought out? The stats speak for themselves. Then much rather ask someone else that is not in the public eye for an honest opinion about the grinders. For the price point, they are good. They are really, really good. But keep in mind that your tool will only take you so far. Yeah, whether you use a 10,000 Rand file or a 2 Rand file, it is you operating the thing. You can only blame your tools or the lack thereof for so long. Yeah, but anyway, so a grinder is a grinder. Done. Yeah, the one will make it fancy and funky and can upgrade with all the attachments and the whole works, and the other one is a basic entry level. You got to buy what you believe you are going to buy. From a professional maker's point of view, no one goes out and buys a full workshop, spends 500,000 Rand on a full workshop. I don't know. I've never heard that. Everyone that does this pro built their tools up over years. Yeah. So that was my answer, and I'm sticking to that. Do you have any insight into the Trinity 7 grinders?
I've seen them. They look sturdy. I can't say I've honestly used one, but I've seen the machines. They look very sturdy. I've seen them being demoed, and that's about all I can offer on that because I've obviously got my own grinder. But yeah, I've not heard anything bad about them.
Yeah. So if that was the question, if I had any negative comments on it, I have to say no. No. And then we've got David saying, how's it going? How's it going, David? No, because if it was financed by the Bank of China, we would have had more sweat shops.
Sorry, I'm shouting at my children.
No issues, dude, and feel free. This is a free-range parenting safe zone. Yeah, free-range parenting. I survived free-range parenting. Yeah, my kids know what free-range parenting is.
The only reason their backsides aren't stinging right now is because I'm on camera. You can see me.
That shit could actually get you locked up. Once we're we're allowed back in the public, you might be brought up by some other, I don't know, tree hugger on charges of what's it? Child abuse. Yeah. But anyway, so everyone wants to be a full-time maker right now until they find out that there's no money making knives. Jay, I want to say nobody. If you find that there's no money making knives, you need to take a step back and ask yourself, are you running your knife making business as a business? Because making knives is just producing a product. Producing the product is not the issue. It's getting rid of the product in a consistent manner, building relationships with guys that actually buy your knives so that you are in demand. Flopping around like, I don't know, a millennial, from this design to that design, blah, 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 not finding your feet, not understanding the material that you're working with, might end you in a bit of hot water. But marketing is what it's about. It's not about making knives. It's about getting rid of
making knives is a hobby. Making knives is a hobby. Selling knives is a business.
That's it. And now, if you are a full-time maker and you want to sell them, like I constantly say this, and I always will say this, make sure that your wife and your spouse and your family is in this with you. Yeah. I mean, because if you don't know how to run a business, you've got no business in the business of knife making.
If you think there's no business in knife making, I direct you to Blade Gallery. Okay, there's a guy who is making good money. He keeps thousands of knives in stock. There's no, and he buys knives regularly. He goes to knife shows and he cleans the guy. They clean them out, They get all the best knives. There's definitely a market out there for knives. And
yes.
If somebody can't find the business, then you're not trying hard enough. I mean, like I said, I've repeated this. I'm just sound like a stuck record when I say this. When I started out, there was a very, very narrow knife market. This is in just between 2000 and 2004. Okay, the knife making was a thing, but it wasn't a popular thing. Some guys did it. Some guys made enough money, and the world at large was unaware of knife makers, and only the collectors and hunters and guys who use knives and knew about knives bought from them. Then came the age of knives in about 2015. When was the first Forge and Fire episode?
Oh crap, I don't know.
Anyways, the first Forge and Fire episode popularized knives to the public at large. Okay, everybody wanted to be a knife maker. Everybody wanted to buy knives. And the problem is, a lot of guys realize that knife making is not easy. It can be fun, but if you want to do it right and you want to make money from it, it's definitely not easy. You've got to put in the man hours. You've got to put in the effort. You can't just make some knives, put them on Facebook, and think they're going to sell. Trust me, I know. Okay.
But aside from that, just building the skill that is required to put up a knife that is at an acceptable standard. An acceptable standard, I know, is a very vague term. That takes years of honing the skill. There's no way you can make a knife and get it into a situation where you'll be selling it for $1,000 within, I want to say, a year. There's absolutely no way.
But then,
there are
those rare exceptions, and I hate those guys. Okay, who pick up steel, put it to a grinder, and then make a fucking work of art. And I've been doing this for 20 years. Why the hell does this 18-year-old swordsmith from bloody America with long ginger red hair makes such amazing swords, and I can't even hammer a long piece of steel straight after 20 years, man.
You can't even grow your hair that long. Yeah. No, Colin. Yeah, we all know you're talking about Colin, right? Colin is a cool guy.
Colin,
seriously cool guy.
So good.
And also, chat to him, and we'll get him on the show. If you chat to him, he's been making knives. He's just 20 years old. He's been making knives since, I don't know, when he was, I want to say 3 seconds old. So he already has the experience, yeah. And he decided to focus on one knife, one steel, no stainless. So I'm going to stick to carbon steel. What type of carbon steel? I'm going to start with plain carbon steel, understand that, and go into the more complex, the deep hardening steels. Understand what heat treat is. You're not sending your blades into someone else that heat treats it. If I want a hum on what additive do I need in the steel for a hum on pop? What is vanadium? How does it add to a refined grain? Blah blah blah. So a lot more to just making knives than drawing a picture and grinding away whatever is not the knife. Yeah. Okay. So
did you say drawing a picture?
Yes, I did. So Jay, please don't get me wrong, buddy. I'm not knocking on you, but yeah, there is real money to be made in making knives. It just takes what to build the name, as in any business.
I'd like to cite a friend of mine, Gareth Bull. Okay. Now, this is a young guy who is. He's got an eye for design. He's a lot like Neels. He reminds me of Neels, except he does folders. Okay. And he's designed a simple folder that everybody loves. This guy cannot make the knives fast enough. He makes a batch of 50 and he sells every single one in about 5 minutes. Okay.
Yeah, but it took him years to refine that blade.
I was at a Sharp Shapes knife meeting at KMTS out in Pretoria there, where we were doing a forging day. And he came and showed me one of his first knives that he'd made, a little folder. It's not quality-wise, it's not that much more. It's not that much less. It's better than what he's making now. Okay. You okay?
Dude. But you know that little bone in your elbow. I don't know what it's called. Your sock bone. Dude, I just hit that on my bench. Sorry, I'll just sit here pulling faces for a while. You go on, buddy.
Anyway. Yeah, he's a guy with a natural gift for knife making and knife design, and it's paying off for him. He struggled in the beginning, and now he's taken the world by storm. And I have a lot of respect for that guy. He stuck it out, and now his brother's working for him. I think they're getting somebody else to work for them as well. And Bull Knives is now a successful
name. Yeah.
Say again.
He's a household name in the States, buddy. He's got a very sort of look. His blades are absolutely smooth. One day when I'm all grown up, I want to own one of his blades, yeah? But the problem is I'll never be able to freaking afford it. So I'll need to mug him in the pit at Blade Show and steal whatever blade he has on him. That's the only way I'm going to get one of his blades. All right, so there was a question. Who are you? So we're going to go into the round called Who Are You Again? All right. So, Mr. Smith, would you mind introducing yourself, telling you your background, your qualifications, and what the hell are you doing on my show?
Well, I'm Stuart Smith. I am the chief cook and bottle washer at Smith Hand Forge Knives. I also sometimes pretend to make knives, and I joined the Knife Makers Guild in 2014, I think it was. No, earlier, I can't remember. I joined the American Blade in 2019, and I was chairman and still am de facto chairman of the Southern African Blades Association for the last 12 years. Yeah, and I used to teach knife making until my workshop got too big, and it was either tools or students, and I chose the tools. Sorry, guys. So yeah. And that's me. And I've specialized in Bowie knives, as you can see on my shoulder here. Bowie knives, Pukos. Those are my Journeyman Smith knives that I submitted for my test last year. And I'm a big fan of Bowie knives and anything big, really. That's me.
Excellent. and now me. There's no need to focus in on me. I am Neels van der Berg, and everything that I do, I blame on, oh crap, wrong one, that guy. Yeah. So I met Stuart Smith 508 years ago at a flea market where he was doing a demonstration, and I was selling crystals, of all things. Yes, you heard that correctly. I was selling crystals. Yeah. So I'm also a lapidist, or used to be. So shaping, faceting stones, blah, 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 blah. But anyway, so I saw this guy. He was hammering away, wailing at steel, and I'm thinking, what the fuck? I didn't even know this existed. That was a Saturday. The following week, Monday, Tuesday, I did a 2-day course with Stuart, and I think the Friday following, his daughter was born. Yeah, but anyway, that started off as a long-term relationship, and we became extremely good mates, and that's what he's doing here, and that's what I'm doing here. My qualifications: I'm a member of the South African Knife Makers Guild, submitted as a bladesmith, and a accredited journeyman smith with the American Bladesmith Society, which I attained in 2016. I was planning on doing my Master Smith this year, and then Corona hit. Done. So we can't get out. 2 people. You can't go and visit mates. I can't go and visit Stuart because we're in complete lockdown. So I started a little thing called the Bladesmith Hangout using Zoom. So we got like 10 guys together talking crap while everyone is working, just to get the social element back into knife making. And then I decided, well, I've spent quite a bit of money on YouTube and blah, 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 blah. So yeah, started making knives. We are both full-time knife makers, and this is our sole income. Yeah, I specialize in 16th century left-handed gouges or daggers, main gouges. Just scroll down my Instagram profile, man, at Black Dragon Forge. So just go to Google, search Black Dragon Forge, South Africa, or Neels van den Berg. Yeah, and for some other reason, I can't get our name tags to show. Yes, me and technology, I suck, man. Display names.
You do better than I do.
Ah, there we go.
It's me.
Oh, wrong side. See, there's the logo, Black Dragon Forge. Yeah, for the guys on Instagram, hope you got all that. All right, but anyway, so that's us. That's who we are. We are Knife Nuts, official. Yeah. We have got a question. When doing a pattern weld steel knife, say 15N20 and 1095, which metal do you harden and temper? Which metal do you harden and temper to? That's the beauty of 15N20 and 1095, and that's understanding what is in each of those steels. And you want to select 2 steels, one with a higher nickel content than the other one, but you want to select your steels so that the heat treat specifications is extremely similar. Yeah, and if you go and read up on 1095 and 15N20, the heat treat specification on those are pretty much the same thing, and that's why it is such a nice combination to use. So there's no need to select the heat treat on either one of the 2. You want to select 2 steels or 3 steels that's got a very similar heat treat.
Yeah. The guys are replacing the 15N20 here with 75 Ni8, I believe.
Yes.
Which is, so if you're going to mix the 75 Ni8 with 1075, there you go. That's your problem solved. It's the same carbon content with nickel in it.
Exactly. So the Ni8 has just got a higher nickel content, and that's why you essentially it is a 1084, if I believe it correctly, 1084 or something with higher nickel content. Yeah. So we've got another one. Ricotta length versus height, as far as design goes. Does balance and sheath fit play a role, or is it mainly cosmetic?
Look, from what I understand about your Ricotta size, just use golden ratio. And golden ratio creates the perfect size Ricotta for the dimensions of the knife that you're making, and is far more aesthetically pleasing than some guys who make these really long ricassos, or like really, really flat ricassos right up. So the heel of your knife is like right next to your guard, like a little bit like that, you know? So I think the golden ratio is a good rule of thumb if you don't know.
So what is the golden ratio? If you have to ask yourself that question, go and open your wallet, take out a credit card, and there you have the length versus the width on a credit card is the exact golden ratio. Yeah. So if you scroll that down and your Ricotta, if you're doing a perfect parallel plunge like the ABS likes, especially the old school guys on Bowies and those type of things, you'll see that they've got a rectangular Ricotta, height more than width, and that is based on. But if it looks good on paper, that's what it's about. If it looks good on paper on the design, then done.
Golden ratio is just rounded up 1 to 1.618.
That's it. That's it. But if you don't know how it works, then much rather go watch a YouTube video. Yeah.
Just Google like I did right now.
So Frank, thank you, buddy. Same to you, dude.
Thank you.
And Sean is saying, role models. I tell you, I'm not that fat, dude.
I don't sell rolls.
I'm not rolling anywhere.
I don't model rolls at all.
Sean, thank you, man. Thank you. And then we've got Mr. Stan Husky, all the way from Cape Town.
Why is
Stan was going to get an invite, I think, on Monday, but I'll chat to Stan, yeah? And we'll get Stan in here, and he can share some trials and tribulations of being locked down as a knife maker in Cape Town. But I also know that his business is keeping him busy, so he's been working his ass off, yeah? And I don't think he's actually had time for making knives. But anyway, let's flow in before we get into live comments again. I want to bring these guys up again. So Anthony Stein. So he is asking there about a chair that I did with my logo on it. So if you follow me on Instagram, you would have seen me saying, yeah, stuff it, I'm not going to work. I'm going to build a chair or reupholster the chair. Is the chair big enough for you? For my ass? Yes, it is. For my head? Fuck no. It's not big enough. And then David, good mate. Was it last episode? 2 episodes ago. So episode 9. Mr. David Huller was the guy in the red chair. And he got grilled for an hour and a bit. Who has the biggest hammer? Stuart. How big's your hammer, buddy?
That's pretty small.
Well, my wife is not complaining. So once again, that PG rating is now definitely up. Biggest hammer. I use a 1.5 kilogram.
I use a 4-pounder.
What the hell? Is that a Big Mac?
Can I just, Neels, can you just give me the camera for a second, please? My daughter just baked me baguettes. Look at those.
Holy crap, dude.
Oh, they smell good too.
Okay. So that arranged marriage is back on the table, right?
You have to marry Neels to do it. Neels is done. Nope, she's running away. Wonder why they could do.
All right, Lon, buddy, I tried, man. I tried. I mean, we were joking and saying, look, if he ever brings a girl home, what we're going to do is we're going to book a 2-week self-catered camp in the middle of nowhere in Botswana, probably a salt pan somewhere. And if that chick survives 2 weeks without showering, and she still looks pretty when she gets up, he will have our blessing. Yeah, he will have our blessing. And then he came home the other day and he said, well, you know what the problem is that half of the girls that he knows can't even cook breakfast. And I was saying, well, dude, I don't know what you're going to do. Make sure that she's got some other certification.
I was going to go back to Jean-Pierre's question.
Yeah.
He says it's not the size of the hammer. It's how hard you can hit with it, what you have.
All right. So I just need to say that was a reply to David's comment or question.
Okay. Well, I would like to actually point out something. A hammering technique, okay?
Yeah, go for it, buddy.
When I've seen Kevin Harvey, he uses a 2-pound hammer, that little crosspeen that he has. Yes, and when you watch Kevin forge, he's like that. It's like that piece of steel has done him wrong. Hey, he attacks it and he goes waka, 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 and he hits hard and he hits fast. And it looks like hammered bubble gum for half the time, and then suddenly turns into a knife. It's like magic, right? Now, I do something similar. Now, I use a 4-pound hammer, but I can't, obviously, the hammer's so heavy, you can't hit as fast as like Kevin does with a light hammer. So what I do is I hit at a slower rate, but I hit with harder strokes, you know? So my hammering is like ting, 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 not ting, 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 ting. If I do it like that, I'm going to pull something. I'm going to bust a flippy valve, you know? So
exactly.
With the big hammer, I use it I use the brute force to draw out the steel. I then lessen the pressure and increase the speed as I start ironing out all the bumps and the grooves. And then you hold it right close to the head, even that big 4-pound hammer. You hold it right close to the head, like you're holding a small pin hammer. And I like tick, 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 and you just get all the perfect shapes, and you can really forge with a great deal of accuracy by just reducing the pressure and increasing the rate that you're hammering at. So yes, if you're using a smaller hammer, you have to hit faster and harder in order to move material. But because the hammer's lighter, it feels like you're expending less energy. But a lot of guys pick up the heavy hammer and think they have to treat it the same way, and then they get tired very quickly and move back to the smaller hammer. I've trained myself
and that
all these years.
Yeah, and that's also where they get injured.
Yeah.
Being used to working with a small hammer, hitting very fast, and then all of a sudden deciding, hey, they're going to try a bigger hammer because there's a bigger piece of steel, and they want to use the same technique, and then they end up with injuries. Yeah. I still, to this day, I do like a 2 or 3 minute just warm up, loosening the wrists, loosening the shoulders. I'm getting on in years, man, so I need to do these things. I've stopped doing like push-ups and sit-ups, but that was like 30 years ago. So it was before knife making. Yeah. Getting this body in this shape, right?
Round is a shape too.
Not by running around. If you see me running, know that I'm on my way to the toilet. That's
or somebody chasing you.
No, I just fight back. I just scream at them loudly, and 90% of the time it'll work. Mace, what's up, buddy?
Hey, we were talking about him earlier.
Yeah, we were, and that's why he's here. Brother, you will get an invitation to join this little party during next week somewhere. Yeah, hopefully that is something that you guys are open to. Let us know. But now, okay, so we are still back at the questions that we received. So Jean-Pierre, thank you. We realized that you were saying that in joke, but it is not how hard you hit. On the contrary, it is the technique that you're using. And especially if you're beginning and you don't have a technique, hitting the anvil or just being able to hit the steel is not technique. Yeah. And what you'll find is the harder you try to hit, the less accurate you are. So it's not about hitting hard. It's about hitting the same spot twice really accurately and being able to control where you hammer, how hard you hammer, and then the frequency of hit. And I have a saying that if I sweat, I stop, because then it feels like work, and I'm not longer working for a living. Yeah. So let's get on to the next one. How do you go about establishing a style of your own and actually go about marketing that style, making people take note of what you do? The style is something that you will come up with. Style is based on design. Every single person draws the same line differently. So starting on design, starting on paper, not looking at what other knife makers are doing, but finding inspiration from nature, like Bertie Rietveld does. And then once you can make a knife, I'm not talking about a week after you've done your first knife making course. Because if I show you the first knife I made solo after I did Stuart's course, you'll be laughing your ass off. That thing was more comfortable upside down in the hand than it was. The blade had a banana. Okay, long story short, my sucky first solo knife to where I'm now took dedication, hard work, and just brute stupidity. Yeah. But coming up with a style of knife, it is something that identifies you, and it is extremely difficult coming up with what the Americans loosely call what they refer to as your signature style. I don't have a signature style, I don't think. But if you have a look at all my daggers, they all kind of look from the. You can see it's from the same family.
Daggers have a similar lineage to them, yeah.
Yes, and same as Stuart's knives. I mean, you put 20 knives down there, I will be able to tell you which one is a Stuart Smith knife. Done. Whether his logo is on there or not. But aside from that, yeah. So over time, you build up. There's small little nuances in the design that make your own thing. Don't get hung up on trying to set your signature now. Just learn how to make a fucking knife and make a proper knife. Yeah. And how do you actually go about marketing that style, making people take notice of what you do? And the answer is in your question. How do people take note of what you do? Sorry, let me just get the question on screen. Yeah, so I don't have to look off screen. So marketing style of people take notice of what you do. This is notice of what you do is the thing here. So if you haven't realized now, 90% of high-end knives are sold because of the maker's name, the maker's reputation. And it's not just the knives that he's produced, the body of work that that person has set up. People buy into you as a person. What you say, how long your beard is, how bushy your hair is, blah, 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 blah. I mean, if you meet a new guy, you spend 20 minutes with him, you either like the guy or you don't, or you're kind of on the fence. Same thing when you meet a knife maker. People are not buying your knives because of who you are. They only see you at knife shows. Yeah. So that's why the guys like us that is in social media the whole time, people get to know you. If I don't post for 4 days, I get international phone calls asking me if everything's all right.
Yeah.
Which is cool. Yeah, which is really, really cool. So you build up relationships, you build up friendships, real friendships. That you share the ups and downs with other makers, with other people. And a lot of my good international friends that I've made over the years don't even own one of my knives. Because they'll tell me outright, look at you, way too expensive. I'm going, dude, I make these things. I can't afford them. But yeah, so people buy into who you are and at a show. And it, once again, it boils down to selling yourself. That's what you do. These hands, me, I made the knife. Not Black Dragon Forge. Black Dragon Forge is my company. I work for that company. That's it. But I don't build Neels van der Berg knives for Black Dragon Forge. I build forges for Black Dragon Forge. That's all I have to say about that.
Okay, if I may offer my my answer to this question,
please do, buddy.
Okay, so sorry, can you put the question up again, please? I can't remember it.
Okay, so I'm going to put the question. Oh crap! I just took the question out of the screen. There we go.
It's around here somewhere.
There we go.
Okay, so how do you go about establishing a style of your own? And the first time I saw that sentence, my first answer was, well, that's your problem. You're the guy who has to make the knives. You're the one who's got to design them. Nobody can tell you what your designs are. You have to interpret it. So when I say it's your problem, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm trying to say that it's up to you. The burden is on you, the maker, to find your own design, to find what works for you, to find what appeals to you. Okay, so it's you can't go and ask somebody like, oh, what's a good design? No, it's all that person can tell you is the design that they like. They can't tell you design that works for you, your style of knife making. All right. And then going about marketing and the style of making that people take notice of what you do, that all. Hang on.
What? So the guys on Instagram, you can click on my bio, link is in there, and you can watch this thing live. Yeah. So you don't have to have the behind the scenes look at things. Go and check it out live, man. All right, so I'm actually going to kill the Instagram feed. There we go.
Neils, are you getting a beep beep noise in the background there? Or is it just my side?
Yes, no, it is. It is probably my wife or the kids that beep beep. It is one of my guards, the infrared perimeter beams. So one of the dogs or someone is playing.
From my phone, it sounds like it's coming from my house, and I've got the kids.
Oh yes, it is your house. I'm telling you, bleep 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 bleep. It's going to blow up in a couple of seconds. So here's an interesting. Michael, will quenching in Castrol GTX increase wear resistance? Fuck no.
Use canola oil. No, definitely not. You want to use a professional quenching medium, something that's specifically
see that evil eye.
Yeah.
So listen to Stuart before I slap you silly. Go.
Yeah. You don't want to use. Look, if you're a
look at another question, and there's a lot of
things about if you're a backyard knife maker and you've got I don't want to say a trash shop, but a kind of a workshop that you kind of assemble together. If you're a $50 knife shop kind of person, so like the Wayne Goddard book, right? Then you use a 3-2-1 mix that they talk about there, which is 3 parts oil, 2 parts diesel, and 1 part transmission oil. Okay.
Yeah, 3-2-1. 3 parts oil, 2 parts transmission fluid, 1 part diesel.
Oh, sorry, that way around. Okay, sorry. Like what Neils said.
Buying that stuff off of your local garage, you might as well go and buy commercial quench oil. Because keep in mind,
exactly.
Will need to replace after every 20 quenches because the oil breaks down. Not an oil that was specifically designed and developed for heat treating. Heat treating steel. It's not just us, the suppliers, are trying to get your money. It's an oil that you buy fucking once. It is made for the steel that you're using, and it is made to get the best quality hardness or hardening out of that steel. It is.
And the coolest thing is when you stick your blade into the oil, you can actually see the blade in the oil hardening, which is really cool because the oil is clear. It's really nice. But you use the 3-2-1 mix, it's black. You can't see shit. You only get your knife out. When you get your knife out, it's still black. You have to wipe it clean before you can see the white carburizing of a successful harden, So
exactly. So another tip.
Please don't use car or motor oil if you can help it. Look, if it's all you've got and you literally can't afford and you have to get oil from some guy's old service, fine, it'll work in a pinch. But rather, if you're going to go to all the money of buying Castrol GTX, it probably costs more than quenching oil as well.
Because fully synthetic oil. Now, I can understand where this comes from. It is the same realm of thinking about putting your quench tank to magnetic north to avoid warping, and that there, everyone knows it's fucking bullshit. So don't do it. The guy that said this on his own little version of Forge and Fire, his whole thing, is that guy still around? No. The show got fucking cancelled because of that stupid remark. All right, but anyway, Castrol GTX is made to increase the life of the engine. All right, your car's engine. It was designed and specifically formulated for that. It was never designed to take a piece of steel at 830 degrees Celsius and stick it in there and expecting it to cool down sufficiently so that you miss the pearlite nose of the steel so that it actually heat treats and hardens to its best ability. That's why we have commercial quenching oil. I personally, okay, so I actually sell the most expensive quenching oil on the market at 350 South African Rand for 5 liters. If you now go and buy 5 liters of canola oil, it's going to cost you fucking more than the most expensive quenching oil on the market. That is it. Financially, it's cheaper. Just get the correct oil. How often do you need to replace the oil? Theoretically, never. Unless you get water in there. You'd like a trollop left it outside with.
Don't leave it outside.
Yes. All right. Don't worry, it will not explode and flame up like they do on Forge and Fire because they actually put gasoline on top of the oil. And if you don't trust me, go and have a look at the expression of the guy that is quenching with 10 years worth of experience. You would assume that he's quenched more than 2 knives, and he's got his hands in his face over the bucket when he's actually quenching, not expecting the dragon's breath to come up and singe his beard. Okay, so Michael, I realized that I might have climbed into you. Not a personal attack. I just get this quite often, and it is.
No. Twitching when people talk about questionable quenching.
People start talking about quenching oil and weird stuff, I get a bit of a nervous twitch. If you're doing this as a hobby in your backyard and you just want to make a knife, just make a knife, man. Use what you want. I had a question about a guy wanting to know where you can buy shallow hardening steel today. Didn't call a brand, didn't say 10 series steel, 5160, EN45, EN49. He just wanted a shallow hardening steel because he wanted to do a water quench. I then asked him whether he was a 2,500-year-old Japanese swordsmith and whether he dug up sand out of a river and made his own mahogany, and then spent the next 4 months folding the steel to get the impurities out. So he has to quench in brine, not water, which raises the boiling temperature of the water. And then, well, once he's all done all of that, then I can supply him with a shallow hardening steel. But if he doesn't have that, well, he realized that you use water in the forge to keep hydrated. That's it, and to cool down your tongs. That's it. Wash your smug off your face. Water doesn't go anywhere close to fucking blade steel. Done. Yeah, no, you know someone, you saw it on Facebook or you saw it on Instagram. Any of the guys that claim to have done this and do this every single time, yeah, there's a handful, saying handful, 5 of them, fucking worldwide. Yeah. Okay. And then ask them what the success rate is. So out of the 20 knives he's made over the last 6 months, how many of them actually survived the quench? And maybe 2. That's it. There's the reason people don't do it, because people in general are not stupid. Okay. So once again, use the tool, don't be the tool. But that is not a personal attack, Michael. Dude, just if Castrol GTX is what you have, use it. But will it increase the wear resistance of your steel? Fuck no.
Absolutely
not. Nothing. It will not. On the contrary, it will not get to the full potential of what that steel is capable of. Wayne is asking for beginner hollow grinding tips. Begin. That's my tip.
Yeah.
Just begin.
Okay. I can offer one tip though.
If you're grinding a dagger, start at the tip, not at the choil.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm enjoying my delicious bread.
I saw that.
When you're grinding a dagger and longer blades, actually easier, I find, than grinding smaller blades, because with the longer blade, you can use a technique called grind by numbers, where you grind one section and you can keep in the middle, and then all you do is you join all those little grinds together. It's really easy to keep a long, straight grind. With a smaller grind, you can't really do that, because unless you've got a very 25mm wheel, you can do it on smaller blades up to about 120mm, should do nicely. But you need to not grind. If you want to, this is a great beginner's way to do it, is you start off by marking on your blade where your depth of your grind is. Make sure that you've got your diameter to blade material thickness grind chart, and you measure the correct grind height for the size wheel that you've got. If you don't have one, just look one up there. A lot of knife companies have it. Anyway, Derek Rausch handed out little magnets that you can put in your workshop with the grind height ratios on them. And once you've got your grind height ratio, you do one grind that goes all the way to the top of the grind height that you mark and all the way to the center point of the edge. And you just hold it steady, because that's the easiest thing in the world to do, is just to hold the knife and not move it, and only move it in the direction that you need to have it ground. Then you pick it up off the wheel, move it up a little bit so that half the wheel is over the fresh material that hasn't been ground, and you just grind down again until it meets those lines. It's actually really, really easy. And I've always believed that hollow grinding is far easier than flat grinding, because the blade sits in the wheel very neatly, and the risk of doing multiple bevels, which is what you have with flat grinding, is far reduced because of the way the blade, once the blade has been hollow ground, it sits neatly. So once you've done all those little bites, you take off one little bite at a time. Neels did it on his video, one of his live videos during the dagger build, where when you want to grind material off, you don't try and grind it all at once. You grind one bit, you move up a little bit, and you put about half onto the wheel, onto your belt, and you grind off another little bit, and you do that, and it works much faster than taking these long sweeping strokes. And also the problem with the long sweeping stroke is, unless you've got a jig that you're using, if you're doing it freehand, your hands, you've got to have a lot of practice. You got well-practiced hands in order to keep it steady. And if you don't have those well-practiced hands, it's going to take you a long time to learn it. And of course, that's the practice that gets you to that stage. But if you want to do it, I recommend grinding one step at a time, turn around, grind the other step. And you leave the part where your run-in is, don't grind that. Grind those two pieces last. All right. You've got a file guide with those tungsten carbide surfaces, use that to guide it. I never used a file guide for the longest time, and I use one now because it just means I don't have to concentrate as hard to try and get those bloody lines to line up.
And you're not as young as you used to be, right?
Yeah.
Exactly, man.
Excuse me, more bread.
All right, so the comment I made is just start. Just start. Practice, practice, practice. You're going to practice stance. You're going to practice how you hold onto the blade. And keep in mind that if you're running a 1 inch or a 25 versus a 2 inch or a 50 machine on a hollow grind, it is going to make a difference. The thinner the wheel, the less contact you have, the less powerful the motor. It also aids in if you've got a variable frequency drive where you can actually slow it down, especially in the beginning. And the biggest tip I have is don't force the material into the wheel. Let the abrasive do the work. Let it grind. Your job is just to hold it as still as possible in the 3 axis. Yeah. So this way, that way, and then the tilt. And the tilt, you never want to use large muscle movements. Obviously, I'm over-exaggerating the movement. It is just pinching your fingers will tilt the blade. You don't want to tilt in using your wrists because you can't replicate that. Then another thing is I see guys on short knives doing the whole grind and flip, grind and flip, grind and flip. Just don't do that. I've only met 2 guys ever worldwide that could do that freehand without a rest. Yeah. And that is Etienne Forster and oh, come on, Gavin Dickinson. And Gavin is a monster. I mean, this is the only guy I saw a video of grinding a dagger while chatting to the guy that making the video. He's not even looking at what he's fucking doing. Yeah. But then also, if you have a look at those 2 guys, they have been making knives since I was in fucking diapers. Yeah. So, and that's not calling bullshit. That is a real thing. These guys that make it look so damn easy have spent hundreds, not just 10,000 hours, but hundreds of thousands of hours just grinding. Yeah. He could most probably buy 2 houses and a small fucking island with 3 boats in it just on the amount of money he has spent on abrasives on his machine. Yeah. But a quick tip.
Yeah. Sorry, you make another
low pressure and hold the thing as still as possible and use all the support you can. So in other words, if you see me grinding, I'm taking this thing and I'm shoving it into my tummy. In other words, I am already stabilizing my hands on my body. Yeah, so you need to do what you need to do, man. But if you need more information, there is numerous videos on YouTube. Go and watch them. You don't phone me unless you've done like fucking at least 10 hours worth of videos. And then before you just watch any kid's video on well, I say any kid, anyone's video, go and have a look, research the person doing the video. You need to understand whether that person is just creating the content for his YouTube channel. In other words, he's selling insurance, or is he selling knives? Is he a professional knife maker? I suggest Walter Sorrells, Mace. I don't know if you are still around, buddy, but do you have a channel? I don't know. Go and find someone that you know for a fact makes knife for a living. Yeah, and then try to find videos of them grinding or explaining how to grind. That's about it. Otherwise, what you can do is after lockdown, contact me, come spend time next to me. In other words, I can help you with your stance, your skill, your whatever. If I see you grinding, in other words, you're going to stand next to me working, and I look over and I see something that I can pick up, and that's where your issue is, I can point it out, because it's easier for someone else to pick up what you're doing than you trying to pick up what you're doing, especially in the beginning. So what I did was years and years and years ago, when I took an entire year off knife making, just focused on grinding, is I took 2 cameras and put them on me and recorded the way that I was standing grinding. And I picked up that I was doing this, but only if I grind left. My left shoulder was pulled up all the time, and I got cramps in my back for some of the weird reason, and I couldn't figure out what. And I thought it was because I was spending 2 hours a day grinding. No, it wasn't. Because I had this stupid little freaking tick when I was grinding. So just simple things like that. And then your arms start tiring out. It is also something, the time behind the grinder is not something you're going to say, look, first time I bought my grinder, I'm now going to spend an entire Saturday grinding. You cannot. You need to teach your body to be in that weird position, because nothing about grinding a knife is natural. Absolutely nothing. Okay, so that's all I have to say about that. Mr. Stuart, anything else before we move on to the next one?
Fresh belts work better than old belts. Don't kid yourself.
Yes. You use old 36, 60, and 80 grit belts to break bevels, but if a belt is done, throw it away. It's as easy as that. French Bay is asking, wondering whether you guys still use a coal forge, and what are your opinion about the pros and cons of a gas forge and a coal forge, and which one you prefer when you work with a carbon steel? Can you use a coal forge to work with stainless steel? You can. I'm going to address the last question first. Can you use a coal forge? That one there with stainless steel. You can do whatever you want as long as you understand the material that you're working with. It is not the heat source, whether you're using a coal forge or a charcoal forge or a gas forge or a hole in the freaking ground and pretend to be a Viking. No one cares. If you understand the steel that you're working with and what the properties of those steels are and what the pros and cons are of working it by hand. In other words, if you're sticking it in a forge, I'm assuming you want to hit it. It can be done. Speak to the supplier of the steel. Get the specification. As long as you work within the specification perimeters, then yeah, everything's cool. But keep in mind, anything that you get from the mill, in other words, let's call it N690, that is going to be completely annealed. Grain is going to be as fine as it can get, blah, 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 blah. If you stick it into a coal forge or a forge, you're going to stuff up with that. So understand not just the heat treat, but the normalizing cycles of set steel as well. Yeah, so that's it. So the parameter, can it be done? Yes, it can be done. Have I done it? Yes. Do I know other guys that have done it? Yes. Can it be done successfully? Yes. Can the results be repeated? Yes. But with training and understanding, it takes a lot of practice. I have stuffed up thousands of dollars worth of steel to be able to do this. So I can explain to you, but I prefer to do it when you stand next to me, because there's not everything I can put into a little video about forging stainless. Yeah, I mean, there are guys that are forging stainless for sheath knives. Yeah, stainless Damascus, and I'm being told you can't do it. Fuck this, man. You can't do it. It's just understanding is a different thing. Yeah. Okay. So then the next one. I have only worked in my entire life. I've only worked on coal forges with Mr. Tian Burger right in the beginning. This is like 11 years ago. Yeah. And I think it did 2 or 3 weeks, and then I realized, you know what? I need a real forge, something that I can run without pissing off my neighbors and her white sheets. So I started building forges. Yeah, the first forge I built, this guy, yeah, this guy saw the first forge I built, and he goes, "Hey, I want one." So I built the second one, and that's how Black Dragon Forge got started.
I used that forge I use that forge. Okay, so it's 11 years now. So I used that forge for 10 years. Yeah.
Yeah. But you were forging in coal before that, right? Well, you had a gas forge, but before that, you had your start in coal.
Yeah, I built myself a forced air coke furnace, coke forge, with fire bricks on built on a round tubing. Hang on a second. Sorry, dog's barking. Anyways, yeah, with coal forging I love. Oh, the smell of the burning coke and the billowing white smoke before the flame catches. I got great fond memories of, it's making my neighbor's clothes smell on the washing line. To such a degree, I actually had to phone her beforehand and say, look, I need to light up my forge, and she would take all her washing off the line. But once it got working, I figured out how to use it. I made myself temporary cover, a brick cover for the forge. So I had a focused heat source. And I no longer had to stick my steel inside the coals. I could just lay them on top of the coals. And the little pizza oven that I created for myself worked as a heating chamber. And I could do all my forging without sticking my steel inside the coals. And forging with coal is great. You forge for about 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes. And then you have to take the bricks off, clean the clinker out, which is the silicon within the coal burns off and creates glass. We call it clinker. And the glass clogs up your air vent at the bottom. So you got to reach in there with a hook, and you got to pull a hot, sticky clinker out that's like toffee. and then you've got to repack the forge and let it fire again, and it takes another 5 minutes for the forge to fire up. It's a very relaxing process, and then you have to maximize the amount of time that you work on that forge. And yeah, and it's very pleasurable, and it's very cheap. The downside is it takes too long. Okay, if you've got all the time in the world, use a coal forge. If you need to make knives quickly, use a gas forge. Gas forge is much more expensive because you blow through cans of bottles of gas. But the trick is there is no downtime. You put your blade in, you forge it, you put it back in, you take it out immediately again, and that doesn't stop. There's no time waiting for coal to refire and waiting for the temperature of your forge to get even. And yeah, so I like gas forging because it's efficient, despite being more expensive. But I love coal forging. I went to forge with Lynn Ray at the Arkansas Historical Museum Forge, where he works, and he's got a hand bellows that he pulls, and that forge only gets hot when you need it to be hot. I had a forced air burner for my forge, so that I was chowing through coal, even though it was still cheaper. But with his one, you pump it, the fire heats up, you pump it, and when your blade's hot, you stop the fire, and the forge goes quiet. There's no sound except you hammering on your piece of steel. And then you put it back in, and there's just a soft blowing. Then it goes quiet. Oh, it's so nice. I love it. If I could do it like that full time, I would.
All right. So I think that was it. The next one I have is Marius Buerta addressing French's question. And then we've got Garth asking a question, but we'll get to that in a moment. I just want to quickly address this one here from live out of YouTube, where the guys are saying, you boys doing the postponed blade show? No. Personally, no. I'm going to take a step back and only do it in 2021. Unfortunately, in August, my personal feeling is that the crap wouldn't have cleaned. The fan wouldn't be clean yet, and I'm definitely not. Even if I can get a direct flight, going to spend 16 hours on the plane with a whole load of other people breathing recycled air. Just not yet, man. I currently enjoy my life. So I'm not going to put any of that.
Similar
and aside from that, as soon as I can ship again, there's no physical need for me to be at Blade Show. The sales I have are 90% of them are to dealers. I'll say 99 at this point is 90% of what I make is sold to dealers. And those arrangements are made before I can get to Blade Show. So Blade Show for me is a body and delivery of knives.
Blade Show for us is also more of a social experience rather than sales, because like Neil said, all our sales are done before Blade Show, and if we haven't got sales before Blade Show, we arrive there with our knives and everything gets sold before the show opens. So we kind of just, if you go to our table, there's just business cards there. There's no knives, there's nothing. Usually just either one of us is standing there for about 10 minutes, and then we just spend the whole show walking around talking to people. You know?
Yeah, which is bad, and that's something I'm definitely going to be focusing on next year, as spending more time behind my table, because you get guys that really just want to chat, and they get to the table and you're not there, which is kind of it would have pissed me off if I was that guy wanting to go and meet someone that I've spoken to.
There are quiet times during that show where you see guys sitting there and there's no customers in the aisle, and they're just like nodding off, you know.
Oh, yeah. Here's a question we have. What is your thoughts on bearing steel? Okay, for starting bladesmithing or knife making, dude, any steel that you can get your hands on, if it's a carbon steel, would be cool to start knife making. Bearing steel is not necessarily 52-100, so unless you are, if my personal feeling is, I started out as a scrapper, spending time in scrapyards and buying up old leaf springs. Back then, and this is 11 years ago, the steel that you got in a leaf spring was actually 5160. Yeah. If you buy really, really old stuff, it was actually 1070. These days, it's not the thing. If you're going to go to your leaf spring company, you're going to get EN45, EN49 if you're happy. If you're extremely lucky, you're going to ask for 5160, and they're just going to give you EN45 because you've got no fucking clue. That's reality. I'm calling it as it is. You do not have a clue, and that's why you are scrapping. What I suggest, if you want to take this seriously, especially if you want to sell that knife, and you want to be, without a shadow of a doubt, tell the person that you are using a 52-100 steel. Go and buy the steel. 99.9% of the time, it is cheaper to buy new, known steel than it is working with scrap steel. I am not saying don't go and play with scrap steel. Do it.
Neels has got piles of bearings
with assumption that you're using the steel if you do not know. My dad had a saying, either you think you know or you know. If you have to think about it, then it's a clear indication that you do not know. Yeah, and just because some other dude on your phone told you that is it, doesn't make it. Yeah. Sorry, Stu. Go for it, man.
Okay, you supply known 52-100 bearings, or you got a whole box full. I don't remember where you got it from. I think it was Steve McAfee.
No, it was Jack Connon. And Jack had it tested, and I had it tested before I started selling it. Yeah.
And that's proper 52-100. Now, unfortunately, 52-100 isn't available in flat bar in South Africa. You have to import it, which kind of pushes the price up, especially with the bad exchange rate right now. So you can get yourself a bearing, but the problem is the bearing looks like this. Okay. All right. And you're going to look at that and think, how the flipping hell am I going to get that flat and make it into a knife? Yeah, there you go. You know, that's excellent steel. Gee whiz, when I make knives out of that stuff, they are super tough. This knife is made out of that.
You've got to find, but you've got to find the one with the leather at the bottom of it.
Yeah.
If your bearing doesn't have the leather at the bottom of it, it's not 52-100.
Yeah. Okay.
This is my little bench handle. So this is a 1.5 kilogram 52-100 roller bearing. Yeah. This is not something you can buy at your local bearing shop. Yeah, but this has got a little leather thing, so I can put it on my bench and I can use it as a hammering little table, a little pinning table. Yeah, it's also nice for if the wind comes through, I can put shit down.
The inherent cost in using one of these bearings is drawing it out, and trust me, you don't want to hand hammer that thing out. It's almost as hard when it's hot than when it is cold. Okay, but if you've got somebody with access to a power hammer or a hydraulic press, then go for it because it makes brilliant knives.
So here's a question from David asking, who makes your favorite files? Stu.
Don't use files very often.
Mine is the file shop. I have a favorite file, and that is a Riffler file that is now over the last odd year become my favorite go-to little file. It is made by Fact Germany, and I love that thing. It is a fourth cut, so it's a finishing file, not a rough file. Yeah, I love that specific file. But here we go. I've got a whole shipment of files coming in. Local, a file. Use whatever you have. You don't have to go and spend thousands and thousands of rands on fucking really expensive velour Swiss grade files. Yeah, you can, and people don't believe me. I buy these things by the box full. That is a box full of really cheap ass files. That is an expensive set. All right, these ones here. I've got 10 packets of them in here. There's more. Okay, so they are cheap. Buy them. Use them like toilet paper. If it's one, you toss it away and you take a new one. Yeah. For every knife that I make, I grab one of. Where did they go? For every knife I make, I buy one of these. But now keep in mind, my knives no longer sell for £5. Yeah. And that is 185 bucks. If you're in South Africa, most hardware stores, chain stores, Builders Warehouse will sell these, and a suggested retail price, a file, okay, of 185 rand. Yeah, that's 18 rand a little file. If it's blunt, toss it, buy anyone. That's easy as that. File is a consumable. This has nothing to do with the brand. If you want to get really expensive, then go buy yourself diamond needle files. But as a knife maker, if you're going to be working on steel, know that the diamond, if you're working the file like an ass, the sintering material that keeps the diamond honed or sitting on there is going to get hot, and the diamond actually falls off. Yeah, diamond doesn't go blunt, by the way. There is nothing on this green earth harder than a fucking diamond. So it's not going to go blunt. Yeah, it breaks because of shock, and it becomes loose because of wear with heat. So if you don't use your diamond file like an ass, it'll last you for your grandkids will still be using that diamond file. Yeah, so favorite file, I like a file. Why? It's cheap. Yeah, files in my shop is a consumable. If you want to spend the real money on real precision needle files, then Velourb, which is a Swiss make, and you're going to be spending real fucking money. So much so that you will most probably not want to use the files. I'm saying a set like this one here. This is also a file. This is their upgrade or the more expensive one, and that is 800 Rand for 10 files, for 12 files. Okay, so the first time I bought this, and I'm now going to play with this. But the quality of the file is a lot better. But now the drawback is that this new little file, more expensive one, doesn't have a handle. So I love Fat Germany makes these little handles that you can take apart. Yeah, I want to show you it's not the standard blue one, and it's got a little notcher in there. You put that in, you take your file, you stick that in there, and then you close it up. Yeah, and then you tighten it up. And you tighten it up. And you tighten it up. And for the guys looking at the podcast, I was just screwing around with my file. Okay, so there you go. You've got a file. All right, it's a nice ergonomic handle. And another thing on files, don't go and steal your neighbor's fucking golf ball and stick it on your file handle. It looks really cool, yeah, but you're going to get cramps in your fucking hand. Yeah. No file handle ever was a ball, ever. That was some other dude that decided, hey, he's a cheap ass. He doesn't want to spend money on a file handle, and that's go and spend the fucking money. Yeah, your hospital bill is going to cost you more, and neurosurgery on your hands. That's what you want. Ergonomic file. Yeah, you can buy these at Fat South Africa. Yeah, done. There are much nicer one with squishy handles. Blah blah blah. You need to find what works for you. For me, I don't mind spending the money because my hands and my eyes and my files, I've got a file fetish, what can I say? But the time I'm going to be spending with this, and I prefer working with files than I do using any one of the 9 belt grinders that I have. Yes, you heard that correctly, 9. I spent the time. I'm a full-time maker. It's also not stuff that I've just decided I'm going to build 9 grinders. I built that up for teaching classes. Yeah. But anyway, so long story short, I still have one favorite grinder, and I've got a backup for that one favorite grinder. I have my one go-to file, and that's an A file. It's a cheap one. If it breaks, toss it, take a new one. Have them in stock. That's it. So that was me. And once again, that's all I'm going to say about that. I watched Forrest Gump yesterday. Dude, I enjoyed that movie, man. We're done with this. Garth, let's quickly have a look. So, David, hopefully that answered your question, buddy. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. You taking the time. You obviously competed in the 48-hour dagger build as well as the 5-day sword build. Needs refinement. I'm thinking if you're saying that it needs refinement, I'm not even going to read any further. So yeah, buddy. Okay, so long story short is you need to spend time refining your grind. So when you come off the grinder, there is no set time. So I will grind a dagger up to 1,200 grit, but that's me. Then I knock down to 800 hand sand for 5 minutes and I'm done. Learn to grind. That is it. The time behind the grinder is what you need. That is it.
3 rules of knife making. Don't forget
practice.
3 rules of knife making.
Rule 1 is practice. And then practice. Yeah, that is it. And I've got a saying, and very few people agree, and then a lot more people disagree. You do not practice the skills required in knife making by making a knife. I cannot get any clearer than that. The skills required to not screw up a knife on the grinder is directly related with the amount of time that you spent practicing grinding. You cannot put in the hours in practicing grinding by making knives. You need to learn how to grind and then apply that knowledge onto grinding. So power is knowledge. No, it's not. Power is applied and practiced knowledge. And once again, that's all I'm going to say about that. So, Garth, buddy, you're more than welcome. He's a good mate. And Garth is actually the owner of Trinity's Forge. Yeah, Trinity Forge, Theonor Forge, Garth Fletcher. Click on the guy's name and then search Garth Fletcher on Instagram, on Facebook. Go through to Trinity 7 Forge and go and have a look at his tools. I know that he's in the process of building power hammers and presses and the whole works, and he's a good guy, and he is even more full of crap than I am when it comes to fit and finish and precision and those good things. Yeah. So you know that if you're buying something from him, it will be made to the best of his ability. Yanni Deploy is saying, hi, well, okay, question. He's grinding his flat bevels after heat treating. I usually grind until I have a sharp edge. Then do the hand sanding on the entire blade except the tang. Do you sharpen the edge with your belt sander? Oh, okay. So this was a question about how we sharpen our blades. Now I sharpen on the grinder. I will establish the primary bevel up to a 320 on the grinder, and then I will on my daggers go and just stone in the final edge. But keep in mind, my grinders are not made, or my grinders, my daggers are not made to skin or be used. It's a stabby, pointy thing. So it's got a point, and all I need to do is just shove it through someone's body. Yeah, that's it. So my daggers I produce is no longer functional pieces, although they have to be able to cut. But I'm not making them as razor hair popping sharp as I used to be able. Well, not used to be able to, but used to make skinning knives, for instance. Stuart, I believe that your bows are still, dude, they are still razor popping sharp. Yeah, and it's a rule in your shop as well. It doesn't leave unless it at least shaves arm hair. How do you get that edge? Do you do it on the belt grinder, or do you do as Mr. Battlefeld is? So Bertie has answered Yanni and saying, stay away from belt sharpening as it burns the edge, hand sharpen only. Now, I need to agree and disagree. Agree that if you are starting out, it is easier to learn the skill to hand sharpen. Once you have got the know-how behind the grinder, in other words, you can grind an edge up to a 0.1 millimeter without burning the fucking edge. Now that you've got a VFD, you know what you're doing, then you can hand sharpen, or not hand sharpen, then you can belt sharpen on the belt. But I do hear what Bertie is coming from. Hand sharpening is a skill that needs to be learned, and you do not run the risk of burning the edge. And 90% of the guys that I have seen that sharpen on belts do burn their edges. So I have to kind of go.
Our belt sharpen, first of all, my belt's not running fast enough to even increase the temperature of the blade a little. Okay.
Yeah.
And also,
so if you're not running a VFD, don't do it.
Yeah. So if you don't have a VFD, I wouldn't recommend it, because I mean, when people say belt sharpening, you have this image of a guy working on the slack of the belt and sparks flying off, right? Okay. Now, yes, when you're seeing sparks, it's getting hot enough, your grit is coarse enough to create sparks to heat up the steel. But as you're doing reducing grit, you should be reducing speeds as well. And when you grind your knife, you grind it to a point where you don't have to grind it much further after heat treating, because grinding it too far obviously will overheat the blade and you will get the burning like Bertie suggests. But I go down to I've got an old 600 grit belt, which feels like a piece of A4 paper. It's super smooth. And I use that to put the burr on the edge of my knives. So it's already got a established Appleseed edge. Okay, so there's no grinding involved to get to that point. And then I just run the blade on the slack of the belt, and the belt is super soft and it's going super slow. And I run it up and down. I get that burr, and then we strop it off, and it comes out hair popping sharp without sacrificing or risking any burning or tempering of the edge. And I've had no problems with it at this point.
Excellent, man. Excellent. I do have Kolf asking me whether is there an Assassin's Creed build plan for the new Valhalla game? No, there is not from my side. No, there is not. I don't know if Ubisoft is doing. I'm pretty sure they're doing collaborations with other knife makers worldwide. But I'm out, man. No, I'm not doing any more builds. Any game builds. Yeah, it is a lot of work, man, and my focus have just changed.
Also, learning who won that spear was a bit disappointing. Jeez, like
Daniel Goldman is still smiling about that. But Jan Burger, arguably the single guy that I've learned the most about handling a hammer from. And this is where I was talking about spending time in Tian's shop way in the beginning, working on a coal forge. And he is saying, hammering, how's it? Hammering is all technique, hard and accurate. I agree. Then who else we got here? Skulk is asking, what type of ceramic plaster can I use to make a forge, and how thick should the lining be? I'm planning on using a fire extinguisher as a body. Skulk, dude, go and watch a YouTube video on someone that built one out of a fire extinguisher. Yeah, I build commercial forges. I don't use plaster. I use high heat refractory cement that is mixed specifically for me at a specific temperature rating. And yeah, I do sell them. I do have stock, so you're more than welcome to give me a call. But how thick should it be? It all depends on what you want to do. There is actual real math involved in building a forge that is both proficient and efficient at using the gas, getting the most BTU out of the burner you have. There is some math that you need to do to get the most out of a gas forge. More than welcome to give me a call, buddy. Don't know my number, my cell phone number, my mobile number. Just ask Google. Literally go Google Neels van den Berg contact number, and you will actually find it. Otherwise, you can go to Black Dragon Forge. Shameless punt, blackdragonforge.co.za. My contact details are on there. Skulk the Toy, obviously a frequent visitor. Skulk, I don't know how many frequent flyer miles you have at the moment, buddy, but welcome to Blade Talk once again, saying I'm a backyard vegan knife maker. So for the guys that know me, that have been following me, I called myself a vegan knife maker after doing my last production build of knives. I ended up something like 6-7 weeks just stock removing blades, and I made the statement that I feel like a vegan knife maker, and I want to be a carnivore again. In other words, hit shit with the hammer. So that's where that little thing started off. And if you are offended that I'm calling a stock remover a vegan, that's your issue. Yeah, you obviously have a couple of latent issues. So yeah, don't be offended. But if you are a millennial, please feel offended. Yeah, and then move on. Unsubscribe. Now, click the button. So Rolf is asking for oil. Buy once, cry once. Yeah, it's not that expensive, dude. But yes, I understand what you're saying. Do your research. Ask the guys that use them, and then just get the stuff you need, man. In your opinion, AAA or Parks 50? I suggest Virtuoso Quinzel, because you can't find AAA or Parks 50 in South Africa. If you're in the States, Parks 50. But depending on what you are heat treating, if there's one guy I'm going to refer you to in the States, that is Mastersmith Kevin Cashin. I'm not 100% sure how pronunciation. How are you going to get his contact details? You go to AmericanBlade.com. Go to the ABS Mastersmith section, scroll down on members list, and find his email address, and then send him an email. Yeah, easy. And then you ask him what you should be using. I don't know. I've never used with AAA or Parks 50. Sorry, brother. And there's fucking irritating dude called Stuart Anthony Smith is asking another question. What's a blood groove for? It's in the name. It's to let out blood. Done. Have you seen how they make maple syrup? They tap maple trees. You know, they've got this thingy that they tap into the tree. Okay, and then the sap falls off. They cook that off and they make maple syrup. Same thing with a blood groove. There is blood in the steel, and the only way we can get the blood out is by cutting a groove in it and setting the blade in a full moon at a 45-degree angle to the rotation of the earth. That spin will then get rid of all the blood in the blade, and then once you do that, you can say bullshit, because this is Blade Talk, no fucking bullshit. Blood groove is a Hollywood fucking invention. Yeah, it wasn't a Viking that decided, hey, my sword got stuck in this guy's body, so now I have to use my foot to get it out. The blood groove is not called a fucking blood groove, it's called a fuller. Yeah, and it's not the fullering you do with your girlfriend, no. It's not fullering around. It is to reduce weight out of the blade and to make it more rigid.
Yeah,
but make it more rigid.
Lighter.
Here is science and shit.
Yeah.
What is stronger, a flat bar or an I-beam? An I-beam, of course. Yeah. So you do a cross section of a fullered blade, and what does that resemble? The more physical points you have on the profile, the stronger and stiffer the blade becomes. Easy. Once again, you understand the principles behind it and not just go with the funky, fancy words, Mr. Stuart Smith. Damn it. You just want to get my heart racing. Well done. You did that. And by the way, I say this on every single episode when this topic comes up. Dude, that's Stuart Anthony Stuart Anthony Smith resembles your Facebook profile picture. Buddy, did you see that? I think this guy might have stolen your identity. He's following you around. Not family, is he? But has this guy even asked you for a katana with a blood groove?
Yeah, all the time.
That's the blades earlier. Yeah. And Stuart, if you go and have a look on his profile on Facebook, yeah, Stuart, what's your Facebook address? Your profile?
Also, Stuart
Smith Hand Forged Knives.
Oh, Smith Hand Forged Knives. Yes, sorry, yes, Smith Hand Forged Knives. Yeah. Smith
Hand Forged Knives on Facebook. Go and have a look. Scroll through his pictures, all right, and you'll see the amount of freaking seriously stunning and cheap, by the way, really, really cheap blood groove knives that Stuart does. Ask him for a blood groove knife. Yeah, right. So my pet hate is canola oil quenches, and his is are blood grooves. David is asking. David, please don't tell anyone, because now everyone is going to want to click on that error link. So David is saying he clicks on the product links on my website and he gets an error. Dude, thank you very much. I do appreciate it. You are now officially appointed as Quality Assurance Officer for Black Dragon Forge. All right. So I will go have a look at it. Yeah. I will go and have a look at it first thing in the morning. Grant, how's it going, buddy? Yeah, Grant is one of those. He pisses me off. He's so talented. Knife makers. Yeah, and he just popped up woodwork, and one day he was there. He's a knife maker, done. And then we invited him to a chat session, and yeah, he's just a cool guy, so you can't even be upset with him. Stuart, did you break the bread, or did you cut the bread?
I cut the bread. I know, should have broken it. Doesn't matter. I ate it. It was delicious. Now I need to pee.
Excellent, man. Dave from Evader Knives, how's it going, buddy? I did the same thing when I started trying to figure out how the hell, because I got semi decently forge a knife, but then when I got to the grinder, I just screwing it up one after the other, one after the other. So what I eventually did was I had wooden templates, laser cut, realizing the wood is extremely soft, so you just go, there's nothing left. And I bought one 80 grit belt, and I think I ground like, if I have to say, 1,000 blades out of wood. It was nothing. I eventually ended up buying wild olive, really thin, 4 mil material wild olive, and I designed a butter knife that'll fit into a margarine tub. Yeah, plastic margarine tub. And I was grinding those just to try to recoup some money out of learning this whole thing and grinding wooden knives, and then selling them as a knife that'll go into your margarine tub, and you can spread your butter and then just put it back and close the lid and put it in the fridge. And I sold hundreds of those things. But once again, that was also an exercise in trying to recoup some of the time that I was putting in there, making a bit of money out of that as a hobby, but then also working on the selling the thing more, the personal interaction, selling. And there's a whole lesson we can do about selling. What's this one? Excellent, Jack. Yeah, man. So Jack is another member of the South African Knife Makers Guild. Go check out his straight razors. This guy really knows his stuff, and he has built himself an entire wet grinding system on his grinder And that's how he is able to sharpen knives on his belt grinder, ensuring that that edge stays cold all the time. Thank you for that, Jack, buddy. You appreciate it, man. Just text. Yeah, but he likes Stuart's blood grooves. More surface area. There we go. Thanks, buddy. On 20 Stain, do I need a beard like you guys to become a professional bladesmith, or is just loads of practice? You need a beard, dude.
Definitely a beard.
Need a beard. Done. That's it. Yeah. This is, and if you can grow a long mustache, you don't even need a mask when you grind. That's a pro tip right there. Yeah, no. Be safe, not stupid. Lots of practice. Yeah. Practice of growing a beard. Practice at knife making. Just practice. Yeah. Frederick is asking, when making Damascus seal, how do you determine what size the billet needs to be to have sufficient material to make the knife according to your design? Frederick, this will depend largely on your skill as a smith, because I've seen guys forge very thick, roughly to shape, and then go and grind away 3/4 of the material that they had to get to the blade size that they want. The more you progress, the more your skill progress, the more you will learn how to estimate the amount of material that you need. I suggest starting this off in a cheaper material, just a carbon steel, forged to shape. And at this stage, I personally want to forge to about 95% to shape, and I just want to use the belt grinder just to get rid of just that slight little imperfection. So the more I hone my skill as a smith, the less time I need to spend on the belt grinder.
Yeah. Also, if you're making Damascus, a good rule of thumb is to make slightly more than you need, because once you've made your pattern and you've drawn it out into a blank or a bar or a preform, you'll see what's left over, and if there's leftovers, you can use it for fittings, or even if there's enough, you can use it for another knife.
But then also Damascus
always make more than I need.
Yeah, so Damascus is a very loose term. That is a term for a whole group of steels. It all depends. If you're just doing random pattern Damascus or a twist, you will have zero steel loss based on patterning. If you're doing, for instance, a ladder pattern, you can guarantee that you'll be losing about 45% of the steel that you start with in the billet just to generate the pattern. So it all depends. It's kind of relative, man. If you want more information on this, I suggest either giving myself or Mr. Stuart Smith a call. Stuart is an expert at estimating the amount of material required in forging to shape and then patterning the blade in the design. In other words, the hound's tooth. What do you call it? Dog's tooth, hound's tooth?
Yeah, hound's tooth. Yeah, where you put the edge of the pattern, or also called the heartbeat pattern.
Heartbeat pattern, and those are freaking phenomenal. Yeah, and that's one way to make sure that you get as much out of that bullet as possible. So that was a very difficult question, and I actually had to think about that one. Thanks, buddy. Dave is saying, yeah, selling is a part of it. The selling is the part I need. I know nothing about sales. So yeah, you can do the sorry, Dave. You can do the blind squirrel method, which I affectionately called just blindly posting 5 with your knife that you've done, the end result of the knife, to 5,000 different groups and hoping and praying someone phones you. That is called even a blind squirrel gets a nut every now and then. In marketing, the biggest thing you want to do is achieve repeatable results. Yes, so repeatable results is what it's on about. Okay, and I'm doing
spamming.
Yes, I have every single year when I organize the Brooklyn Knife Show. As soon as like 2 or 3 days before the show, Facebook just tells me enough, and they boot me. Done. They kick me.
Yeah.
Because I'm promoting a thing where you can go and buy knives. Understand why?
Yeah.
Facebook is the platform that I have chosen to promote a dangerous weapon on. And yes, if you're still under the denial that a knife is not a dangerous weapon, yeah, internet law is such, and it is a law. It's not the guys. It's not David, Mr. Zuckerberg, or whoever it's got us in for you, or some other manager at Facebook just thinks because you've got blah, 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 blah. It's not liberals running Facebook. Yeah, they are governed by the state and the country that the company is registered in Silicon Valley, wherever that might be on the planet. I know it's in the US. I think it's in California, yeah. So the law there states that a knife is a dangerous weapon, and you cannot promote a knife, the sale of a knife, or something like that. And that governs the law regarding posting knives and the sale of knives on Facebook. Now, the technology didn't used to exist to be able to digitally recognize what is a knife and what is not a knife. And as time goes on, those technologies are now being developed and have been developed. And that's why you guys have got issues posting knives on Facebook. You can post a knife. That's your free thing. Yeah. And we'll get to privacy on Facebook in a moment. But as these technologies, algorithms get up to speed and actually realize what is a knife and blah, 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 it's going to be banned more. It's going to be blocked more. Those rules have always been in place. It's not something that all of a sudden come up and saying, and then people go, but Facebook has got a thing to me. I could sell a knife last week, and now all of a sudden I do a post, and no. They've got a personal thing against knife makers. Grow the fuck up, man. It's easy as that. Yeah. It is a social media platform. It is not a sales platform. We used it as a sales platform because it was easy. It becomes easy because it's in there. Now that these rules that have always been there are now being enforced, people go all up in arms. But we know people in large groups are just fucking stupid. Yeah.
Neels,
so that's
I'm gonna have
once again all I'm going to say about that.
Neels, I'm going to have to sign off now. My back teeth
All
are
right,
floating,
man.
and I need to prepare dinner.
All right,
So,
ladies and gentlemen, we didn't even get to
of
half of the questions. Can we do 2
It's
minutes?
an hour and 46 minutes, man.
Can,
For this
can we
1 hour
do,
show.
Can we do 2 minutes?
Okay, cool.
Use a jig if you need to use a jig. I'm just going to answer that one. How do you hold them? We will need to get into
it. Use a pair of vice grips. It's a good, cheap answer to holding small blades.
Yes, especially if you're doing folder blades, go and design a handle that'll fit that folder and then grind it. I also know a lot of makers that'll assemble the knife with its scales, with its backspring, with the whole thing, and then only grind the blade, especially if you're doing folders in production. Jacques is saying, how's it going, buddies? Thank you, buddy. Then Jack is once again, he is saying he's grinding freehand. So that was it. Thank you very much. I do have 2 messages via, private chat. Stuart's telling me he needs to go to the loo. Yeah. All right. Once again, Mr. Smith, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for everyone that's asked the questions. We really, really appreciate it. Thank you for spending time with us. I'm going to ask Stuart, sign off, buddy. Where can people get a hold of you?
You can find me on Instagram at Smith Handforged Knives. You can find me on Facebook at Smith Handforged Knives. And of course, I promote my work. You can go and see me on YouTube also at Smith Handforged Knives.
Excellent. Otherwise, you can just ask Google for Stuart Anthony Smith or Smith Handforged Knives, and Google will send you their way. Yes, we are.
If you Google Stuart Smith, you get the British rock band Stuart Smith.
Which is nothing wrong. They do Stuart Smith knives, and you will find Stuart Smith, the knife maker. Yeah. I'm pretty sure by this point in time, if you send the British rock band a mail, they will say, you know what, here is his details. So many people have asked, just here's
yeah.
Send these guys a t-shirt, man. We've got comments from Sean saying, thank you, man. It's always appreciated. All right, for me, I am Neels van der Berg. Where do you find me? You go to Google, you search Neels van der Berg. I'm the guy swinging the hammer, not the other guys. Yeah, so look for the dude with the beard. That's me. 90% of the photos of me online, I'm extremely dirty. Look like a coal miner. It's got a hammer in its hand. Chances are it's me. Otherwise, what you can do is my corporate brand is Black Dragon Forge. It's easy. Black Dragon Forge. If that guy is located in Africa, it is me. Yeah. I build forges and I make knives. That's it. Also, talk a lot of crap. These guys worldwide, they're going to testify to that one. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, you have been watching Blade Show, and this was Q&A with Neels
Blade talk.
and Stuart. Blade
Blade
talk,
talk.
Blade show. What the hell? It's the same thing.
You ran out of English, Niels. You ran out of English.
I do. Right. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was it. Signing off. Stu, once again, thank you. Appreciate it, man.
All right, man.